Happiness. What does it mean to be happy? And what does it take to be happy? Happiness, by definition, is the stage of well-being, of contentment, life satisfaction, positive feelings, sense of purpose, and commitment. I recently discovered a very interesting theory. It's called the set point theory of happiness. It basically describes that we all individually have a baseline of happiness that is derived by life experiences that we acquire very early in our life, and we continue and carry on through our entire life. We're completely different. And if I show you this graphic with these 3 points, that set point or baseline represents 50% of our happiness. 50% of our happiness. The theory also says that through life events, experiences, circumstances, we're able to shape that as well. And our level of happiness can come up or come down. And says that when we leave those experiences, at some point, we go back to that baseline, to the 50%. If I show you the graphic again, those life events, experiences, circumstances represents only 10%. So I will give you an example of the 50%, right? Who here, let me ask you, will consider what we traditionally call a morning person? Who here might not be a morning person? We kind of know the difference, right? If you're a morning person, that's when you get your energy. You can accomplish so much in the morning, you're happy. But the people that are not, they're grumpy. They don't want to talk to anybody. It's like, don't talk to me until noon. Right? So that's your 50%. There's people that they're happy by going to the beach. There's people at the mountains. I would love to go camping. That I feel that will make me happy. But my wife doesn't see camping the same way. She will see it as a struggle. There's absolutely no point. Making your own fire, building your own tent, there's no point. So that's your 50%. We all have different experiences that shape that 50%, and it's individual. What is the 10%? Life events. Sometimes could be positive or negative. One example could be a promotion. You apply for that promotion and you get it. You're happy. You remember the feeling when you first got your first promotion? In the other hand, have you ever been fired? Do you remember the feeling? Another good example is when you fall in love, you find the one, you feel very good, and you get married. That honeymoon phase. That at some point, for a majority of us, could disappear, right? But what would happen in the other hand, typically happen, 50% of people do get divorced. It's a very, very sad experience, right? So those are life events, positive and negative, and that's what shape you. But you may think that those life events represent more than that, but it's only 10%. And the theory says that once you go through that event, it gets to a point where you just go back to your baseline, the 50% that I talked to you about, right? Now, in the graphic, if you do the math, we're still missing a percentage here, 40%. Anybody wants to guess what that 40% represents? Who said hobbies? Okay, it's actually habits, intentional activities, stuff that we do often. That represents the 40%. So my question to you is, what are those things that you do often, maybe on a daily basis, that could represent that 40%? You might think, and you mentioned work. For some people, they find enjoyment in it. Majority don't. And that's a very good example. Vacation. Have you ever been in a job and you ask for your vacation, you finally get to the final day of work where you know that tomorrow you're leaving for that 2 weeks vacation? What is usually the feeling? Regardless of how much work you have, it's like, you're good, because you know what's coming, right? And what usually happens when you are at the very end of those 2 weeks, the very final day that you know that the very next day, you have to go back to work. You have that feeling inside of not wanting to go back, right? So that is a measurement of not necessarily finding enjoyment in work. So I encourage you, if you don't find enjoyment on your daily habits or stuff that you do often, like work, either change it or find fulfillment in it.